Great pleasure to have you join us tonight. Welcome to WBS Prime News Live this 31st day of March 2015. I am Anita Mwanguzi, and tonight we give you a comprehensive breakdown of what has transpired since the untimely and sad death and murder of Joan Kagezi, the acting Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. And we start off with investigators who are still combing the scene of crime. Everybody determined and wondering what happened on that fateful evening yesterday. While visiting the scene, Mike Chibita, the Director of Public Prosecutions, says they will not be intimidated by this threat, saying work will continue as usual. And Stella Nabakoza starts off our bulletin with that report.
The heavy police presence here tells it all. This is a crime scene. The residents will not be left out, and they too gather to see what will be discovered by the investigators here. This is the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mike Chibita, visiting the crime scene, where his deputy Joan Kagezi met her end after being shot by unknown assailants, trailing her on a motorcycle Monday evening. He stares powerlessly and appalled at the senseless crime committed here, and unable to do anything, he strolls away. Kagezi was reportedly shot by two assailants who had been trailing her on a boda motorcycle. According to police, Kagezi was shot dead at about 7:45 p.m. This resident tells us he heard the gunshots but didn't actually see the assailants.
Position yokuba nti asasula emiyembe yadde akyuse bw'ati abasajja bajjidde ku boda babiri nkuba amasasi naye nga bazze nga kigendera kyabwe kyabadde kyakumutta naye singa yatayimiridde wano kuyimirira kugula miyembe babadde bajja musanga bajja kusinkana ku geeti ye ewaka ku Firina Road bwasula.
Twawulidde nga bakuba amasasi naye twatuuseewo oluvannyuma lwekyo tulaba nga bamusse omukyala. So tekyatukoze bulungi naye abamuse bayiseewo ne badduka babadde ku pikipiki.
Everybody wants answers, and the journalists are relentless, but the CID director, Grace Akulo, remains tight-lipped. The investigation has to go on. Mike Chibita says that Kagezi had rejected any additional security, saying she was secure enough.
A new battle has been opened up against judicial officers and state attorneys, law enforcement in general, because in the history of this country, I think this is the first time that a prosecutor is shot, we believe, in the line of fire, because she was coming from duty, and as you know, she's handling some very many cases. We don't know yet what they think, but the natural suspicion.
To him, this crime will not go unpunished, and it will not deter the prosecution from doing their duty.
Well, this is new for all of us in the profession, but in case it was meant to scare and intimidate, I would like to assure the whole country that we at the Directorate, this just increases our resolve to fight crime.
By Tuesday morning, a team of detectives led by the Director of CID, Messrs. Grace Akulo, and Inspector General Police General Kale Kaihura had dashed to Nigeria in the Kira Town Council where the incident had happened. This, as reports indicate, plans are to have her buried on Wednesday. My soul, rest in peace.
Indeed, we pray for her soul to rest in peace, and we pray for the family to remain strong. In a separate development, Internal Affairs Minister General Ronda Nyakarima says a security lapse led to the gunning down of Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Joan Kagezi, as questions emerge on how such a senior officer was so exposed without police protection, even as she has been handling and has been at the center of so many sensitive cases. The Internal Affairs Ministry and that of Justice and Constitutional Affairs say Kagezi turned down a security offer but opted to take a drive with her children, and the state announces that all state attorneys will be offered security detail immediately. Joseph Sabiti reports.
Another gunshot and another life gone, this time as Senior State Attorney Joan Kagezi, who as a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions was entitled to protection from the state. And as the tears roll, the hard questions begin to emerge on how exactly such a high-profile person ended up very exposed to assailants trailing her on a motorcycle. We put the question to her line minister and that of Internal Affairs.
She has a security. This one would do, this is just a security lapse. Just like someone would say, okay, let me go to church. For this one, I want to go to church alone. You soldiers or police people stay. They were at home. Since 2011, I made it to understand she had been given guards. But this time, she chose to drive herself alone with her kids. Maybe she wanted to have some conversation with the kids. As she stopped by the fruit store, then her life was taken.
We've considered protecting people who handle these cases, and in her particular case, I was very concerned, but she was comfortable the way she was. It's unfortunate she misjudged her situation, and it has resulted in these tragic events.
And so heads continue to spin in wonder as to who could have brutally ended the life of one of the nation's finest prosecutors. And that is the question the state will continue to face.
For now, we are investigating all dimensions of it, but for now we suspect, among others, organized crime to have taken her life yesterday in the evening, home around Chiwatre at 7 o'clock in her personal vehicle. So investigations are continuing. Tomorrow we've agreed with the Right Honorable Speaker. We will formally give a statement here about what progress we are making against those who killed her.
Whereas we have suspicions, we are not oblivious to the fact that anybody else could have taken advantage of her profile performance, high profile performance to do her harm. We're aware that we shall be looking in one direction.
And so for now, a citizen who paid the ultimate price in the service of our country adds to the statistics of those who have seen their lives ended brutally with no substantive accountability to their families, friends, and the nation. Her demise appears an eye-opener as the state announces a security plan for all state attorneys handling sensitive cases.
Whoever did it wanted to intimidate her successors, and we are not going to allow it. We are now going to prepare robust protection for those who are handling high-profile cases like she was doing.
Much as the deceased was at the center of many sensitive cases in court, others advised that the state should widen their scope of investigations in order to bring the killers to book. For now, the official government statement points to the commencement of investigations into the murder, and when the nation shall get results is left entirely to the investigative machinery of the security agencies. Sabit Joseph, WC Vision, Parliament.
Following that story, we welcome you to be part of our discussion platform, and tonight we ask, is increasing the security of state attorneys a solution to the increasing crime? Is increasing security of state attorneys a solution to the increasing killing? To be part of this conversation, join us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/WBS-TV Uganda, and let's get talking. The Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kaihura, says the police are making good leads into the assassination of Joan Kagezi. Speaking while visiting the scene of crime this evening, Kaihura says there are witnesses that saw the thugs and are helping with investigations. Here are the highlights of his visit.
We have good leads in the sense that the eyewitnesses saw the thugs the one who shot 2 bullets from the right-hand side when the vehicle had stopped, and Joanna was driving. She was driving herself with the children. They saw the one who was riding, the rider, had covered his face. So one of the everything was closed. Did not quite see him, but he saw the killer who was putting on a sock in the head, but he could see the features of the face. You know, the guy was not scared. Yes, we've started, and I wouldn't want to prejudice the search. Just to tell the people of Uganda, or people and the world, that just like recently we succeeded in apprehending the hunting down and bringing to justice the murderers in the east, in the Busoga region, and dismantling the organized criminal cell that had formed. They should also have the confidence that we shall do the same here.
The Ugandan judiciary, adding their voice to this, says the brutal murder of the senior attorney Joan Kagezi is a signal that the security for the judicial officers should be beefed up both at their workplaces, places of residence, and also on their way back home. The judiciary, however, says they will not be diverted from serving Uganda, adding that the cases that Joan Kagezi has been handling will have to go on even after the judiciary meeting with the DPP on how it will be conducted.
It was a somber mood at most coasts in Kampala and its neighboring districts following the brutal murder of the lead prosecutor of terrorism-related cases, Kagezi. Kagezi was shot on Monday evening at Kiwatule on her way back home. According to the assistant publicist of the Uganda judiciary, Harari Muhirwa, the incident sent a signal to the judicial officers that their security has to be boosted.
Both were going to work and coming from work and in their offices, at their court premises, and at their homes. So those are issues that will be handled by the police and the judiciary together, and we are very sure that all judicial officers will be protected.
Harari adds that the judiciary will not be diverted from executing justice, saying judicial officers undertook an oath to execute justice. About the case that was being handled by Joan Kagezi, the judiciary insists that they will have to meet with the DPP to forge a way forward on how the trial will have to be conducted.
It didn't take off, but we are going to sit down with the Director of Public Prosecutions, and the case will be again refixed for hearing, and the people concerned will be informed accordingly.
Meanwhile, the trial against the July 2010 bomb attack suspects could not proceed Tuesday after the brutal murder of Joan Kagezi, who was the lead prosecutor of this matter. Kagezi was prosecuting the case. This matter was formally scheduled to be heard on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The defense lawyers too, who had turned up at the court, seemed to be in a state of fear about their life.
Just who is Joan Kagezi? Here are some briefs about the life of an astute lawyer who ventured into cases that many people feared. At the time of her death, she was the acting Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions in charge of International Crime Division that handles terrorism, war crimes and trafficking in persons at the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Joan, an accomplished lawyer, had just been appointed judge awaiting confirmation, according to a source in the judiciary. A mother of 4, Joan was a family person, loving and caring, with a rare focus of passion for justice, always towing her lines of duty. Joan is vividly remembered in the case of former Arua Municipality MP Hussein Akbar Godi's murder case, in which he was given a 25-year jail sentence charged with murdering his wife, Caesar. She was the woman behind the investigations that pinned the youthful legislator to the last drop. She has been at the helm of the terrorism case
in which 13 suspected Al-Shabaab men are charged with terrorism acts where 76 people were killed in Kampala in 2010. She was also an instrumental prosecutor in the former Lord's Resistance Army rebel commander Thomas Koyelo's trial, the first rebel on trial for crimes committed during his time with the rebel group, a case against Dr. Agar Chiinji and others in the murder of his wife lawyer Robina Chiinji that happened 10 years ago. Others include former Mukono District Police Commander James Orion, who was sentenced to death for murdering his wife Christina Polot, and Thomas Nkurungira alias Tonku in Brenda Karamuzi's murder. She has also been the lead prosecutor in the case against Tabligh Muslim sect leader Sheikh Mohammed Yunus Kamoga, charged with terrorism, crimes against humanity, 2 counts of murder of Muslim clerics and another count of attempted murder. She was also working with the police in the prosecution of the suspects in the recent spate of murders, robberies and terrorism in Busoga region and Kampala. The Director of Public Prosecution, Mike Chibita, praised Kagezi as indeed an irreplaceable asset in the DPP's office, but maintained that the terrorism case is just only beginning.
Now, the death of the senior state prosecutor Joan Kagezi paralyzed work at the chambers of the Directorate of Public Prosecution, and many attorneys remain demoralized with fear to take on the unaccomplished mission of adducing evidence against the July 2010 terror suspects and the Muslim clerics associated in the killings of Muslim sheikhs and ADF subversive activity. The Directorate's Public Relations Officer Jane Okuo Kajuga says the death of Kagezi is a symbol of a dark Monday in the history of state prosecutors at the Directorate of Public Prosecution.
Well, on this very interactive news segment where we discuss issues that affect the people. Tonight with me, she's none other than Assistant DPP, Jane Kajuga. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, the country woke up in a sudden morning upon hearing the death of one of your own, one of the state prosecutors. Joan, would you mind telling us, who is Joan?
Joan Kagezi was an acting Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions in charge of the International Crimes Department here at the office of the DPP. She joined the DPP's office in 1994. She worked steadily and rose through the ranks, headed various stations around, DPP stations around Kampala, and rose to the position of Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions. She was very fearless, very committed, very dedicated, and intelligent officer. She had headed the office in charge of war crimes for a long time, and I must say that her expertise in handling international crimes has certainly been a great asset to the office of the DPP. Her commitment to her work, saw her work extra hours, saw her improve herself, because you know, war crimes, international crimes, these are not your regular criminal offenses, and these are offenses that are complex, very highly organized, and when they are so well organized, even breaking through to secure the evidence is difficult, prosecuting it successfully is difficult. Sometimes you need to get evidence that is across borders, and other times you have to get accused persons who are also across borders.
What does it mean to the Directorate?
Her loss is a great loss. It's a great, great loss to the office of the DPP. As I said, she has been an asset, and you can see this from the number of high-profile cases that she handled successfully. She handled the prosecution of Godi Akbar successfully for the murder of his wife. She was also heading the team that prosecuted Dr. Agri Chienji for the murder of his wife. The office lost that case, but it is on appeal. We believe that it is a good case on appeal. We also had her involved in the case that popularly was known as the septic tank case of Tom Kulunjila, who was accused of murdering his girlfriend or so, whose body was found in the septic tank at his home. She has been instrumental in directing investigations and in the prosecution of the July 10 bombings, that case that everybody refers to as the Shabab case, that's currently ongoing. She has also been involved in directing investigations in the current cases involving the Muslim clerics. So her loss is certainly a big blow to the institution of the DPP, but not the entire legal fraternity, and I think the country has lost a great...
What were some of the controversies surrounding these cases?
The case of terror that currently is being tried before Justice Owinidolo, it's a case that has stalled for a long time. You remember the bombings took place when people were watching the World Cup years ago, and there were challenges. Constitutional interpretation issues arose, and many of the suspects, who are of course not Ugandan, complained about the manner in which they were transported to Uganda for their trial. They also complained about various human rights violations, as a result of which they wanted the Constitutional Court to stop their trial. The Constitutional Court, having had their petition, delivered its ruling last year and said that the trial should go ahead, that the issues that were raised about human rights violations were referred to the High Court, but in essence the trial was supposed to proceed. And it had actually started. Yes, it was due today for further hearing, and she was part of the team that was working on that case.
By last week, when these guys last appeared in court, I heard Justice Owinidolo threatening to throw in the towel, given the sensitivity of the matter. What is it going to take you to replace a person like a fearless lady like her?
The Directorate is well empowered in terms of staff. As I speak, we are close to 300 lawyers in the DPP's office. All of these lawyers are trained, they are skilled in prosecution. Certainly her expertise will be missed, but as I told you, she was part of a team working on the cases, and there are other attorneys. They will be identified. The work of prosecution will go on. The office of the DPP will not be intimidated into failing to carry out its constitutional mandate, which is to prosecute crimes as and when we have identified these crimes and worked with police. But I would like to send a word of caution that the public, and from what I've had from press reviews to date, is very quick to say that this is the case of terror that has led to her murder.
Of course, given the judge's outburst their time in court,
I think
from nowhere.
No, the judge's outburst, first of all, was not in respect of that case. It was in respect of the one that involved the Muslim clerics when they were asking for disclosure of documents. But nevertheless, I think that we need not jump to conclusions.
But don't you think that it is an act that has instilled fear in many of the other state actors that may want to take on the responsibility?
That is the motive of any terrorist, to terrify people. And of course, as human beings, it would be wrong if we said that there has been no element of alarm or fear within the institution, but the Directorate will rise and the Directorate will do its work.
What does this mean to the legal fraternity?
I think there are certain things that even we as an institution and other players in security, we need to think about the question of the security of state attorneys and other officials who handle sensitive matters. Much as I said, we are not arriving at conclusions. We are saying that the manner in which he was killed raises strong belief that this really was an organized act of terror, and certainly it talks about the need for us to look into protecting persons who handle delicate cases.
Well, the line minister says that there is need to offer security guards or police officers to state attorneys handling such high-profile cases. Would you support this?
I absolutely support it, but at the same time, I want us to know that no amount, I don't think that it is possible for one person to guarantee 100% the security of another. I think even if one had a guard, you have had people assassinated and they have guards. You've had presidents assassinated and they have guards. They have high, detailed, protection, security measures around them, but still those are infiltrated.
Thank you, Timothy Sibasi. We now revert to our opinion poll question, and tonight we ask, is increasing security of state attorneys a solution to the increased killings? And here's some of your thoughts on Facebook. Moses Ocheng, you ask, how does that become a solution to the increasing killing? The issue here is the illegal possession of firearms that need to be ironed out fast. How do firearms get into people's hands, and who gives people firearms? You believe that should be addressed fast. Tulina Bomark, you say the death of Kagezi resembles the way the police officers in Bujiri were shot. So security, my friends. May her soul rest in peace. Jose Jackson Chibuka, you say we pay taxes to give security to our leaders through police and army. So why was she killed in such a way? And finally, for now, Nahuera Felix, you say you think the minister is right. Such people should be given enough security by the government since they deal with extremely sensitive cases. You're welcome to continue this conversation on Facebook at www.facebook.com/WBS TV Uganda. This is WBS Prime News Live, our top stories. DPP defiant after Kagezi shooting. We will continue prosecuting and fighting crime. Government speaks out on Kagezi shooting, promises to guard all state attorneys. And over 500 army officers retired by the UPDF, General Sejusa not among them. Welcome back to WBS Prime News Live. General David Sejusa has formed a political pressure group dubbed Platform to Rescue Uganda, PRU, with a mission to fight what he calls dictatorship ahead of the 2016 general elections. As Stella Nabakoza reports, the party was launched this afternoon in Kampala.
Launching the organization in Kampala, its national coordinator, General David Sejusa, says the key mission for his pressure group is to bring change of leadership in the country by all possible means.
Because it's not going to the ballot box. So its national coordinator can come in another form at a different time.
The group will be guided by an 8-point program, including sensitization of masses, as General Sejusa explains.
Problem of sabotage and hijacking, because these are liberation structures. You do not do them openly. For instance, you didn't know what was happening. So you tend to keep them silent until at the last minute. And you only involve those people who are handy. That's why when we are going to Kabamba, you hear there were only 34 people with 27 guns.
Sejusa is not moved by the fact that he has not been retired from the army, insisting he will continue to pursue his political ambitions even after the expiry of the ultimatum he gave to the force.
I have communication from the commanding chief, who is the president, where he sent a courier with information that I had been released. He had ordered for my retirement and told Katumba to retire me. So everything else that you see is a mere delay.
This is not the first time Sejusa forms a new party. In December 2013, Sejusa launched an opposition political party in London and cautioned President Museveni that his stay in power would end soon. The party Freedom for Unity Front remained in limbo when Sejusa returned to Uganda from exile in the United Kingdom. Stella Nabakoza, WBS TV, Kampala.
In a separate development, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, UPDF, has Tuesday retired 503 army officers out of 728 who were supposed to be the first batch of retirements this year. More than 200 of these had been deployed to army submission in Somalia, as well as Operation Wealth Creation, and they will retire as soon as they are done with these missions. This as the Army reveals that 1,432 officers will be officially retired this financial year.
This was the send-off innovation that was preceded by the award of certificates to more than 500 gallant sons of Uganda People's Defense Forces who have retired from their duties in the armed forces. This was the first batch of 1,432 officers to be retired this financial year, and they were sent off the gates of the Land Force headquarters in Bombo by the Chief of Defense Forces, General Katumba Wamala, in company of other army senior officers. General Wamala used the occasion to caution the retirees over being used by wrong and scrupulous persons in society that might take advantage of their skills. To him, there are many people out there that are eyeing the most top seat in the country that might want to take the opportunity of one's uniformed personnel.
Those who are agitating for violence, and there are many out there now, and those who are agitating for stability in this country should not have your ear. What you do with that ear is listen. Put that ear on the ground. Listen to those people. Find out who they are so that you can handle them before they unmake what you have sweated to make, and that's the peace in this country.
These having been given retirement and pension packages that are to come every month, spending wisely went without mentioning at this function.
That package we are talking about, that's possibly what they are targeting. As soon as it disappears, as soon as the size reduces from this size to this one, you may not see them.
So I want you to take advantage of that by purposefully utilizing the package that you'll be given here, so that it can help you to make something sensible out there in order to sustain your life.
Represented by the most top-ranked retiree, Colonel Vincent Kawoya, the retirees pledged to guard the institution they have served for years.
Many people, when they get out, they start throwing mud. They start talking all the ills about the institution. But when you're in it, it has been good. Why does it become bad as you walk out?
We pledge to the Army leadership that we shall remain disciplined and law-abiding citizens in our civilian attires and in whatever endeavors we shall be engaged.
One notable absentee on the list of retirees is General David Sejusa, who again applied for retirement upon his return from exile. Last week, his lawyers threatened to sue the forces if he is not granted retirement. But General Wamala says Sejusa should wait for his turn.
That's where some people make a mistake and they say, but I applied. Yes, you applied, but the army may not be ready to retire you. And then another one says, but I didn't apply. It's not a matter of you applying. The army may assess and say, now it's a ripe time for you to go.
The forces have been grappling with thousands of cases of officers who have applied for retirement, but the forces is still holding on them. The military has been using the argument of lack of funds to retire the officers. Paul Matovu, WBS News, Bombo.
This is WBS Prime News Live, our top stories. DPP defiant after Kagezi shooting, we will continue prosecuting and fighting crime. Government speaks out on Kagezi shooting, promises to guard all state attorneys. And over 500 army officers retired by the UPDF. General Sejusa not among them.
This is for the magician.
Welcome back to WBS Prime Business. Communication regulator in Uganda, Uganda Communications Commission, faults digital signal distributor Signet and state broadcaster UBC for failing to carry out enough sensitization about digital migration and availing the signal to the population. The regulator affirms that major cities of Uganda have digital television signal and wonder why the Signet is not carrying the signal concurrently with the analog signal. As Kenneth Wider reports, the Information Communication Minister is also on the neck of telephone operators for poor quality, directing the regulator to act.
Telecommunication quality and digital migration dominated the UCC Organized Consumers Forum. The regulator affirming that he has done his best for the communication sector within the resources he has. Quality of telephone services was a key in the discussions, consumers pinning the ICT minister for poor services. With all chief executive officers of telephone companies operating in Uganda present, the minister directed them to improve on quality, or else he switched them off.
Because like now we have tax on international calls, revenue that comes in. Now, if the revenue comes in and the termination costs for a call from Europe, from America, becomes more expensive than ringing Kenya or Rwanda or South Sudan, then the business people there will not like to ring to do business with us.
Telecommunication regulator UCC, on the other hand, faulted digital television signal distributor Signet for failing to run digital signal alongside existing analog in preparation for the population for switch off in 2 months' time. UCC Executive Director Godfrey Mutabazi affirms that all major towns in Uganda have television digital signal, but wonders why Signet and state broadcaster UBC have not made it available to Ugandans.
As we speak now, we have Kampala and neighboring areas, so we could basically switch off Kampala now. You understand? So I'm saying, Signet, please switch off Kampala, because we have a signal. If you don't want to switch off, at least do simulcast, so that you run the two signals, so that we move forward. I don't hear of anything. You understand? Now, secondly, we have got 17 transmitters landing end of April, so that we deploy them in the rest of the country. So once that one is in place, what shall we be waiting for? Then we shall be having a signal all over the country.
Yep. But digital broadcasting signal distributor did not turn up for the public grilling. Thus, no response was received by the public and regulators' demands. Signet and UBC were supposed to avail free-to-air set-top boxes for digital migration. The set-top boxes are not yet in the market, as 17th June 2015 digital migration deadline nears. Kenneth Bwire, WBS Business.
That's the business. To stay with us now for the latest in Prime Sport. Welcome back to WBS Prime Sport. State Minister for Sports Charles Bakabalindi condemns the indiscipline among athletes who not only cost the country but also their careers in sports. Speaking at the official launch of 2015 World University Games preparations for Team Uganda at Lugogo, Bakabalindi emphasized the need of having disciplined athletes on board, unlike the recent fate where Moses Kipsiro missed out at the World Cross Country Championships in China with unclear reasons.
While launching the program for the team to represent Uganda at the 2015 World University Games in South Korea, Minister Charles Bakabalindi called for discipline among his athletes. The minister cited the recent incident of Moses Kipsiro missing on the Ugandan team that traveled to China for the 41st World Cross Country Championship.
They should train harder before June so that they go there to make the country proud and to make themselves also proud, because once they win gold medals, first and foremost they will pocket dollars as individuals. They will make the country proud. They will market themselves. They will now be aiming higher and higher. They will be seen by different corporates.
He, however, urged athletes to utilize every opportunity they get while called for national duty. He boasted of the big plans for the 2017 World Cross Country Championships to be held in Kampala, saying they at least have an idea.
From what I saw, I looked at the venue, which was well organized. It's so much difference from what we have at Kororo. In fact, looking at the Kororo airstrip, the way it is, and what we are going to add in as small hills as per the requirements, I can proudly say that we are already at 45% arrangements.
The minister thanked the universities for their contribution towards sports development in the country and promised support from the central government. On behalf of the other universities, Ndeje University Vice Chancellor Professor Elia Blugujo urged the corporate companies to come to their rescue as they prepare for the World University Games.
When we see them, it is a treasure. You know, they make our existence on our campuses more valuable. Each day is worth lived because of them.
And it's not by miracle, but we qualified to participate in this world event after our women basketball team became champions during the Africa University Sport.
Non-residential training for the team starts after Easter weekend, and the team will enter residential after all students finishing their exams.
Following the Sand Beach Cranes exit from the Continental Championships, Uganda Beach Soccer Association has turned all their efforts to the local league, which resumes on 24th May with the playoffs. The UBSA chairman Deo Mutabazi told the sports scribes that all is not yet over, though the national team lost to Ghana in the two-leg Nations Cup qualifiers recently.
Uganda's Sand Beach Cranes' early elimination in the Continental qualifiers was a learning experience, and this has given more push to the beach soccer local governing body to look for more avenues of improving the sport. Speaking to scribes at their offices in Kampala, Chairman for Ibasa Deo Mutabazi explained that nothing has been lost since more races were captured in the first ever Continental qualifier for the Sand Cranes. Efforts are now put on the Copper Regional Beach Soccer competitions, which is underway, where Ghana wants to take part as a guest team.
We are not going to rest. We are free to take on the Sand Cranes into the Copa East Africa tournament, which is going to be inaugurated this year. And as Sand Cranes, we will be fully part of that tournament, and these are going to give us a lot of exposure.
The National Pepsi Beach Soccer League is on top agenda as the local beach soccer governing body embarks on the playoffs, which get underway on 24th May 2015, beginning with the quarterfinals, as semis and finals await 7th June. With the absence of defending champions Chilayang, Galatiko, Kayunga, Central Lawrence and YMCA have already qualified for the quarters, as the local sponsors Pepsi confirmed continued support to the league.
Besides the team that wins the league, the first, the second and the third, we shall have cash awards for individual brilliance and individual performances. And in this, we have the best goalkeeper, the best striker, the MVP.
We are here to really support beach soccer. And this time I still want to thank UBSA for all the support they have given the game. I thank the clubs, I thank the players.
In another development, FIFA has offered more support to the development of beach soccer by providing another FIFA referees course, which is due soon. Ubasa will conduct a one-week training for the referees, where they intend to pick the best for the FIFA referees course. Frank Serugo, WSTV, Kampala.
That's the sports. Stay with us now for our news summary.
Everybody use Morbid Tap or Cherry. Morbid is amazing. Moms and eating Tap or Cherry. Morbid is the best. Morbid, all the confidence.
In our news summary, DPP defiant after Kagezi shooting. We will continue persecuting and fighting crime. Government speaks out on Kagezi shooting, promises to guard all state attorneys. Over 500 army officers retired by the UPDF, General Sejusa not among them. General David Sejusa starts his own party. Uganda launches national policy on East African community integration. And in sports, Minister Charles Bakabalindi condemns indisciplined athletes.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Morbid Tap or Cherry. Morbid is amazing. Moms and eating Tap or Cherry. Morbid is the best. Morbid, all the confidence.
Thank you so much for your great company tonight. Up next is Issues at Hand. I am Anita Mwangazi. Good night.